Hi everyone, I'm just getting into the Nissan 300Z right now, and I wanted to bring you on for the first test drive impression. Let's get it started. Interesting start. You can hear the engine quite a bit, the starter, a little bit of a rumble from the exhaust, and after that it quiet down quite a bit. Let's go for it. This is a manual transmission. Holy shit. Whoa, okay. So let's calm down a little bit more. Matching here. Okay. So first kick out the line. Really cool amount of power in this car. So you have a nice displacement 6-cylinder engine plus twin turbo charging on top. So you have all the torque you need from the 6-cylinder, just like if you were driving the old 370Z, was a great car, plenty of power. But here on top of that, you're going, I think, from 330 horsepower before to 400. So this is pretty much from Nissan what people have been doing for years, putting turbocharger into the 370s in order to get a little bit more power. A lot of people would do that for drifting. Here, of course, it's a lot more civilized. They still want to keep the car, nice GT. But you have plenty of power, and of course then they have the option to give you that nice little peaky power from the turbocharger. But I say peaky, but it's like just smooth from low RPM all the way up. It's just that you feel an increasing amount of power coming to you. That is not really linear. That's where that little turbo boost comes in. And it had a little dose of fun, because there is something about naturally aspirated engine being absolutely linear and smooth. It's nice, but here it had a little bit of fun. Interesting enough, they have a few lights on the dashboard, and when you reach higher RPM, you change color. You can do it when you're in neutral, but it goes orange and red, which is pretty cool, because as soon as you go past 4,500 RPM, things are speeding up pretty fast, and between 5,500 to 7,000 RPM, you go there really quickly. You have to really get ready to shift pretty fast. I like the fact that the pedal, the clutch, I think would be very accessible for a new driver. The engagement is relatively high, which means, usually why people have problems is that if they have a low engagement, very close to the floor, as soon as people start moving their feet, they are surprised by the speed at which the clutch engage, and then they have a hard time not stalling the engine. So by having a higher pickup point on the pedal, it's a little easier. On the other hand, for experienced driver, it's a little bit annoying, because you have to actually wait longer in order to be able to make your shift, because you have to fully depress the pedal and you have to fully release it. That's quite a large movement that you have to do. So you have to actually acquire, if you want to shift really fast, you're going to have to depress the pedal, not all the way, and just switch the gear and put it back. And that's a little hard to do, even for myself. I always worry that I'm not going to depress enough and damage the gearbox or something. So personally, as an expert manual guy, I prefer when the engagement is not so high. But I know that for beginners or intermediate, it's great. I've heard it many times before. So I think it's great to do that, because a lot of people may be tempted, new generation, looking at those cars, by manual gearbox, and if they feel like it's too hard to do, when they get in the car, they're gonna go for automatic, which would be a shame, because the manual is super fun. And okay, so plenty of power. What I'm not such a big fan is that the gearbox doesn't have that perfect mechanical shift feel that some other cars have, like where you move the lever, it's kind of a bit of a flimsy mechanism to switch gears, but the guidance is so strong, you really feel guided. Here, it's not a bad gearbox, so it's perfectly fine. But there is a level of play, a lateral play in there, maybe just too much play. I can't really pinpoint it. While it's enjoyable, it's not as enjoyable as, for example, the Corvette gearbox, where maybe the shorter throw, maybe I'm turned off by the throw being too long, but it's not too long really. Again, it's perfectly fine. I would totally enjoy it. It's the first time I'm driving the car, so I always have a little time to that's required for me to adjust to really go smooth with the car. But first impression, if you go to the dealer, maybe you feel that. Big fan of the automatic rev match downshift. It's super fun, and I have to say, in the city, doing hill and tow, it's just almost dangerous. It's a bit annoying. You can still enjoy listening to your engine, revving up in the city without driving like absolutely crazy. So I think it's a great way to have a more enjoyment of your car doing the automatic downshift. So really glad they have that. What else? Doing a quick turnaround. So it's the first time I'm in the car. So overall, what's nice that you really feel like the old Z upgraded. A better dashboard with a TFT screen, nice entertainment system. They have all the cool stuff that you would want to upgrade in the Z, and they keep all the old things that you liked before, like even the door handle, for example, are very similar to the previous model, which I think is nice. I'm trying to push it here. I mean, the engine has a lot of power. You really get, for $50,000, 400 horsepower. It's a lot of power to tap, and that's special. You can't deny, having more power. It is fun, especially if you go for manual gearbox. You're not gonna have to switch gears so often. The bigger the engine, like for example those big V8 car, which are always automatic. But when they are manual, it's actually really nice because you don't have to shift that much because you have a lot of power. While on smaller car, smaller engine, you're constantly changing gears. So again, if you want to go for this, I would definitely try to make the effort to go for manual gearbox. And for the parents out there, I'll remind people that sometimes it may be a good idea to go for manual gearbox, because guess what? It's really hard to text and drive with a stick shift. So on ramp. To look in your rear view mirror, because I am, let's say, doing maximum the speed limit I could do. No, I mean it's good. The steering feel is very good. I mean, I don't see why anybody would think they could get any better than this in all your car. Maybe you could think you could get a little bit of a more nimble car on an older, lighter model, but there's really something about driving a car that has all the latest safety systems, airbag, crash rating. And as much as I enjoy looking at all the classic car, now classic from the 2000s or before the 90s, there's something about having something reliable and safe. They actually even highlighted that in the presentation at Nissan. Think about your family. Those brand new cars, they have a lot of safety features that you may want to enjoy, especially sports car. You're gonna drive a little faster, doing a few stupid things. So if you have something that can save you, I mean, it's really nice, like traction control, for example. Here we go. I'm getting stuck in traffic now. Let's go to actually try and to feel a little bit how it is. A few words about the car overall. I mean, I was looking at the Nissan presentation, and it was pretty cool to see how they try to keep the cost low, but they still had to make quite a bit of change. A few words about the amount of cooling that they put in the engine. Now that the car is twin turbo, they do have to be worried about cooling, and that was one of the problems with aftermarket turbocharged 370Z. It was hard to keep the car reliable, to keep it cool. So we hear from the factories they added a ton of cooling capacity, and the car hopefully will be reliable. I don't see why not. They were also mentioning that the engineer working on the car, especially the test driver and all the driving dynamics, were the same as the one working on the Nissan GTR, because the Nissan GTR, I don't think they're doing much development on it. So they're literally the same guys. And it's interesting, when you drive the car, you do have a little bit of a feel, that it's from the same family. It drives, very differently, a lot less power and everything, not all-wheel drive. But there is a family feel to it, and they said that there were a couple of bits in the aerodynamics that were inspired by the Nissan GTR. And I personally love the Nissan GTR. especially the later version. So I think having that team working on the Z, I think it's a great thing. You know, they always mention for BMW, oh, this guy used to work on the old M3, or for Porsche, this guy used to work on the old Porsche, and people make big fuss of it. So I think it's cool for Nissan to say, okay, we have our Nissan GTR guys here working on the 370Z, and I think it shows. So I'm here in traffic. I mean, what's cool about it is that it's quiet. I mean, I literally have to bring the window down to hear the traffic outside. As soon as you close the window, it's a very quiet car. There's no sunroof, not so many windows area, even though the visibility around the car is great. It is pretty quiet, and overall the suspension, I mean, it's a really nice blend, you know, between control and comfort. Again, here I'm living in Miami. I don't have a lot, you know, big open areas aside of on ramps really. So I think it's a nice balance I would want to have to drive every day, day to day. I'm trying to think. So engine, big fan of the noise. I think it's not like as cool as a V8 sound or a 4-cylinder super high revving with like a big you know, turbo kick where you have no power down low and then a big kick. So it's kind of a compromise, you know, in terms of sound, in terms of power and everything. I think in terms of top amount of power, those 400 horsepower, that's a lot of power for a small car like this. And at $50,000, I mean, it's really a lot for the money. I think it's certainly the bargain in the area. The 370Z was always kind of a good deal, especially, you know, in terms of reliabilities. They've been great, you know, low maintenance car. I hope this one would be the same. But what's cool is that even though the car was cheap, it's not really cheap, but affordable, the driving feel was always big, you know, big in emotion, in communication with the driver. And you really have this here. You're driving a car like this, you will enjoy, you know, your commute. You know, you're obviously looking at a Z, that because you love cars, you want to feel something like an emotional connection with your car. And I can really feel it. I'm trying to think about what other car I would buy at that price, but this one I think is $50,000, and I think it's a really good price point. I think if you're looking for a 2-door rear-wheel drive car, this one is very interesting. It remains to be seen, I guess, to close the video, will be how much potential this car has in terms of tuning, because the Z was always a tuner's favorite. They always were able to add a lot more power in it. And Nissan GTR was the same thing. And I think that Nissan is thinking about this. I really hope they do, because that would not only help making the car, you know, more fun to own, because you can kind of upgrade it over time, and also maintain some value of the car later down the road, because you don't want to modify your car when it's under warranty, obviously. But when the warranty runs out, you know, you may want to have a little bit more fun with the car. You could literally like buy a second life if you know, maybe change the turbocharger, and sure, it may be less smooth, but maybe you want to have a bigger kick because you've driven the car for a little while, you know, in this base configuration. And tuning the engine is really something that was always very fun on the previous car. Literally, people would put like aftermarket turbo in there, and they were like crazy, like drifting machine. So I think this car will really fit really well in that whole profile of the Z, like, you know, an upgrade with, I think, a lot of potential. Obviously, there are going to be a lot of tuning kits, a lot of modification you can do to the car. But in its base form, I think you really can have a lot of fun. And again, most people are going to buy an automatic gearbox. I would really invite you to try to push as much as you can, and try to make the effort to get the manual transmission. I think it's really where those cars, you know, live. It's a lot about interacting with the car. So I think if you can swing it, try to push for the manual transmission, and you will not regret it. I think that's it for my overall impression. You know, come back on topspeed.com. There will be a full article and a bunch of photos of the car. I think overall very positive impression on the car. People love the car, the design on the outside. It's been like 2 times that people have been taking photo of me driving around Miami. I had some guy literally following me, asking me to pull over to look at the car. So people love the new design. So on that front, I'm sure there is no denying people love the design of that flashy yellow color, which is perfectly fitted for a car like this, and especially for a new brand new release like this. I think it's very nice. Trying to think a few more things for people who are still sticking on the video. See what are other impression. Overall, you can see like the suspension are firm, but it's very tolerable. It's not like adaptive suspension, so a little bit firmer than what you would find on very high-end cars. But I think it's a great compromise. The gearbox now, I'm already just driving, for like 20 minutes. I'm already getting quite accustomed to it, and the little nudginess I felt at the beginning is kind of getting away because now my hand is getting, accustomed to where it needs to go, and yeah, the feeling is. I have a nice rewarding feeling there. The engine noise is interesting because I don't know how many different like adaptive things they have in there, but you go from not hearing it to hearing the whining of the engine only, or sometimes hearing the exhaust notes. So I think really based on the load of the car, you have a lot of different sound that are coming in, and I think that's pretty interesting. I like it. The steering feel overall, I mean, is very good. The steering itself is a relatively large diameter steering wheel. It's not like too small, but offer a nice amount of control, and those new steering system really are just as good as all your classic cars that everybody raves about. Say, oh, you need to drive an old car. I think this is really driving absolutely fantastically, and even within the upper speed limits, you can still enjoy the car. I mean, I would definitely not want to push this so much higher up in the revs, because the car literally is too fast for driving in the city. But that's the good thing about having that V6. You can have a ton of fun, stay in the low RPM, feeling the oomph of the car, the push, without driving like a maniac, which is a little bit the problem of those smaller displacement cars sometimes, or too high of a displacement car. You're kind of tempted to drive always a little bit too fast. I think this is a good compromise. I mean, 400 horsepower. That's a lot more than a base Porsche 911, even from the 2000 eras. So I mean, even nowadays, I don't know exactly how much they're pushing now, but this is a lot of power. So I don't see why anybody would want to go any faster than this at some point. To drive. Personally, I'm not gonna lie, I'm missing the rumble of a V8, and the engine noise is doesn't have such a characteristic tone in its form like this. So I would love to hear it with a more aggressive exhaust system, to see what it would do. Right now you hear more the engine revving, the engine movement. You can hear the exhaust. I mean, there is this noise there, but I think as an enthusiast, you're certainly gonna want to push the exhaust just a little tiny more, which is gonna be annoying for most people, but quite enjoyable for you. I'm still having the problem with that clutch pedal that. As soon as you engage it, which is really high up, there's quite an amount of travel that you have to go through to reach the floor. So I end up accelerating, and I engage the clutch, and I have the engine over revving before I have the time to actually make the movement and putting the next gear. Again, it just got the car 2 days, so that's the kind of thing that it's going to happen the first few days. You have to adapt to those things, but very, very easy approach to the car. I'm enjoying driving this, that's for sure. I was supposed to close that video quite a while ago. Straight to go roundabout here. Yeah, the amount of grip and feel you have is really cool. Very easy car to drive. You have a great communication with the car, and you feel where you're going really well. There's no sloppiness, even though the suspension are relatively soft. You do feel like the communication between you and the car is fast. You're not waiting to be, you know, too late in the turn to know what to do. You can feel it here pretty quickly. So definitely enjoy that. I think I'm reaching 20-minute marker now, so time to wrap it up. Thank you for watching so long. Sorry for my ranting. Again, go back on topspeed.com to read a little bit more once I've driven the car for a little while longer. Thank you again. Bye bye.